I forced a little laugh. Yeah, I should probably update everything, now that our situation's changed. I suggested we meet her lawyer, just to hear him out. That's how we ended up in a small, slightly shabby office downtown with a man named Sam, who Alan had already quietly checked out. Licensed, but with some ethics complaints. Megan sat in on the meeting, which already annoyed me, but I acted like I didn't mind. Sam suggested a simple will and a revocable trust. You can put some of your larger assets into this trust, he said. Name a trustee, someone you trust, to manage it if you're incapacitated. You stay in full control until then. And who would that trustee be? I asked, glancing at Megan. Well, he said, looking between us. A close family member, ideally someone with financial experience. Your husband could be a beneficiary, and your sister-in-law Megan could serve as trustee. Just an example. Megan did a fake modest shrug. I mean, I'd do it if you wanted. It's a big responsibility, but I care about you guys. Inside, I wanted to scream. On the outside, I sighed and said, that makes sense. If I'm sick, I want Dan to be okay. Maybe Megan as temporary trustee until he gets the hang of it. On purpose, I only told them about the decoy account and a couple of smaller ones, as if those were my main assets. Melissa had already drafted a safe version of the documents that only gave limited powers over that decoy trust. We knew Sam might try to slip in extra language, and sure enough, when he emailed me final documents to sign, there was an extra power of attorney form buried in the stack. This second form was broad. It gave Megan full access to any accounts in my name, effective immediately, not just if I was incapacitated. If I'd signed it without reading it properly, she could have walked into any bank and moved money. I forwarded everything to Melissa. She picked it apart line by line, then said, "We're not signing that, but we are going to make her think you did. This is the moment we've been waiting for." We used a little legal sleight of hand. Melissa prepared a fake signed version of the broad power of attorney, just for show, watermarked and tagged so the bank and the court could prove later it was never valid. The real binding document we signed was the narrow trust with strict limits, and only over the decoy account. On paper, to someone glancing quickly, it looked like I'd given Megan broad power. In reality, she had none over my real money. A couple of days after the signing, we waited. It didn't take long. I got a text code alert from the decoy bank that someone was trying to log in from a new device. I hadn't logged in that day. Melissa and the bank's fraud team were watching in real time. The login came from an IP address linked to Megan's apartment. Within minutes, there was an attempted transfer in the decoy account, $2,000 to MP Consulting LLC. 2 million. She didn't even try to be subtle. No small test transfers. She went straight for what she thought was a huge slice of my money. The bank froze the request, recorded every step, and let her upload the bogus power of attorney as authorization. They collected log files, IP addresses, timestamps. It was like watching a trap snap shut. I thought that was it. But the financial crimes detective Melissa had connected me with wanted even more. They proposed allowing a small transfer, $10,000, to actually go through under controlled conditions to show that Megan didn't just try, she succeeded in taking money. So the bank approved one tiny transfer into MP Consulting's account, which law enforcement had already flagged. The next day, Megan hit the town. Later, as part of discovery, I saw the store camera footage, her in a designer boutique, buying a ridiculous handbag and some shoes with the MP Consulting debit card, swiping, laughing with the clerk, posing with a mirror. That 10 grand shopping spree became Exhibit A. 2 days after that, detectives showed up at her apartment with a warrant. They seized her laptop, her phone, and arrested her on charges of attempted grand larceny, identity theft, and fraud. I didn't see the arrest. I heard about it from Carol, who called me sobbing. "They took Megan," she cried. "They said she tried to steal from you. Tell me this isn't true. Tell me you didn't do this to her." My chest felt heavy, but also strangely steady. "I didn't make her do anything," I said. "She tried to move $2 million out of my account. This is on her." "She's your family," Carol said. "You're supposed to protect each other." "I am protecting my family," I said quietly. "I'm protecting me. I'm protecting Dan. I'm protecting anyone else she might do this to if nobody stops her." When Dan came home that night, he was pale. "Mom said you had her arrested," he said. "What did you do?" It broke my heart that his first reaction was to see what I'd done, not what she'd done. I sat him down and told him everything from the beginning. The attempted $75K transfer, the fake email, the credit card application, the PI's report, the fake power of attorney, the decoy account, the $2 million transfer. "And you didn't tell me?" he said, hurt and angry. "You let me sit there and joke with her, hug her, while you were setting her up?" "I was protecting the case," I said. "If I'd told you, you might have confronted her or told your parents, and she would have gone underground. She would have found another way. I needed this to be solid, Dan. For me, for us." "I feel like I'm in the middle," he said, tears in his eyes. "Between my wife and my sister. How am I supposed to choose?" "You don't have to choose between people," I said, my own voice breaking. "You have to choose between right and wrong. She didn't borrow $20. She tried to steal $2 million. She created fake documents. She lied to banks, to lawyers, to us. What was I supposed to do? Just let her? Because she's your sister?" He slept in the other room that night. I lay awake listening to the silence between us and wondering what my revenge was really going to cost me. The case moved quickly because the evidence was strong. The detectives had her IP logs, the fake email tied back to her devices, recorded calls where she pretended to be me to verify transfers, the fraudulent power of attorney, the video of her spending money from the MP account, and Alan's report about her past forgery case. Megan pleaded not guilty. Her defense was basically, "I thought I had authority over the money. It was just a family misunderstanding." Her lawyer tried to paint me as paranoid and vindictive, a rich woman overreacting. In court, I had to testify. I sat there under the fluorescent lights and told a jury of strangers how my own sister-in-law had slowly tested my boundaries, then gone for my throat. I watched Megan sitting at the defense table, in a blazer instead of her usual ripped jeans, looking bored and annoyed more than scared. They played the bank call where she pretended to be me. "Hi, this is Hannah Price," her voice sang, bright and confident. "Yes, I authorized the transfer. It's for a real estate investment with my sister-in-law." I felt physically sick hearing her lie using my name. Sam, the lawyer she'd dragged into this, flipped halfway through the case. He agreed to a plea deal to avoid his own heavier charges. On the stand, he admitted Megan had pressured him to draft broader documents than I'd agreed to. She said, "She won't notice a couple million, she's got more," he testified. Hearing that sentence out loud in court, I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't about the money. It was the contempt behind it. The way she'd minimized my entire life's work as something I wouldn't notice. The jury took less than a day. They came back with guilty on attempted grand larceny, identity theft, and fraud. The judge sentenced her to 4 years in state prison, with a chance at parole after 2, plus restitution for the money she'd already spent and my legal costs. He also barred her from working in any position that involved handling other people's money for a decade. When the sentence was read, Carol sobbed. Jim just stared at the floor. Dan looked like someone had punched the air out of him. Megan stood very still, jaw clenched, eyes dry. She didn't look at me once. Outside the courtroom, Carol turned on me. "Are you happy now?" she asked, her voice raw. "My daughter is going to prison. She's lost everything. Is that enough revenge for you?" Tears stung my eyes, but I didn't look away. "I'm not happy," I said. "Nothing about this makes me happy, but I am safe. And so is your son. And so is anyone else she might have done this to if we'd kept pretending it wasn't happening." "My daughter needed help, not jail," she snapped. "She needed both," I said. "She needed consequences. You and I both know this isn't the first time she's taken what isn't hers. You just always called it help or a favor. That's how we got here." For a while after that, things were icy. Dan and I barely spoke about Megan. We argued, we cried, we went to therapy. He had to grieve the version of his sister he'd always believed in. I had to sit with the guilt of knowing I'd pulled the lever that sent her away, even if she'd built the tracks herself. About a year into her sentence, I got a letter from her. I hesitated, then opened it. It started with venom. "Congratulations," she wrote. "You got what you wanted. I've lost my job, my friends, my future. You made sure everyone knows I'm a criminal. Real family would have handled this privately." She wrote about how easy my life was, how I got lucky, how she was just trying to make things fair, because you'd never even miss that money. It was full of excuses and blame. At the very end, there was one line that almost sounded honest. "I don't know why I did it. I just couldn't stand watching you have everything while I had nothing." I thought about writing back. I even drafted replies in my head. "I didn't have everything. I built what I have. You could have asked for help honestly. But I never sent anything. I realized I didn't owe her my emotional labor on top of everything else. The courts had spoken. Karma had done its part. I didn't need to be her therapist. The real revenge, if you want to call it that, wasn't just her sentence. It was the truth being dragged into the light where everyone could see it. Her old real estate colleagues heard about the conviction and quietly cut ties. People she'd borrowed from over the years suddenly saw a pattern they'd ignored. Even Carol, through tears, started saying things like, "We made excuses for her for too long. As for me and Dan, we're still together. It took work." One night, a while after everything had calmed down, we sat at the dining table updating our real estate plan. This time for real. No games. With a different lawyer. The lawyer asked, "Do you have any family members you specifically don't want involved in your estate or finances?" Without hesitating, Dan said, "My sister. Put in writing that under no circumstances is she ever to have power of attorney or control over anything of ours." The lawyer nodded, writing it down. Dan looked at me and said, "I should have protected you sooner. I let 'she's my sister' matter more than 'she's hurting my wife.' I'm sorry." It wasn't a grand gesture, but in that moment it felt like a huge one. It meant he finally saw what I'd seen, that love without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling. Sometimes I still lie awake and replay everything. The first harmless loan, the fake smile at the dinner table, the bank email, the courtroom. I wonder if there was a branch in the road where things could have gone differently. But every time I follow that thought, it runs into the same wall. She chose this. Over and over, she chose lies, shortcuts, and betrayal. And I didn't ruin her life. I just refused to let her ruin mine. She tried to steal my millions. She ended up with a criminal record, years in prison, no access to other people's money, and a family who now sees her clearly. I still have my savings, my business reputation, my marriage, and most importantly, my sense of safety. If you're listening to this and you have someone in your life who jokes a little too much about your money, who pushes you to sign things you don't understand, who wants just a little control over your accounts for your own good, pay attention. Betrayal rarely starts with $1 million transfer. It starts with small boundary crossings you brush off because that's just how they are. You're allowed to protect yourself, even from family. Especially from family, if they've shown you they don't respect your boundaries. You are not cruel for saying no. You are not heartless for using the law to defend what you've built. And if someone calls your self-protection revenge, remember, the people who break your trust don't also get to define your morals. Megan thought I'd be too soft, too guilty, too family to ever stand up to her. She thought I'd let her take what she wanted and swallow the hurt. She was wrong. I planned carefully, stayed patient, and when the moment came, I exposed everything she'd tried to do. She lost everything she tried to steal from me. And I got something back I didn't even realize I'd lost along the way. My confidence in myself. My belief that I deserved to be safe. My willingness to fight for my own life. In the end, that was the real victory.